We're back with our Wave 23 ships. This time we're taking a look at the Romulan I.R.W. Jesco, and we'll get right in and take a look. First we have our Romulan Bird of Prey maneuver card. Pretty much standard setup for these. Not exceptionally speedy, only the 4 forward, everything else in the 3 band. You got that nice 3 come about, though it is red. It's the only red thing on the dial though, which is nice. And of course all of the 2 turns, missing the 1 tight turns. You'd think the smaller ship like this would have them, but I don't think any of the other ones did either though, so no big loss there. So here we have our named Romulan I.R.W. Jazkal. 2 attack, 2 agility, 3 hull, no shield, pretty standard for these. 1 tech upgrade, 1 weapon upgrade, 1 crew upgrade for 14 points. Evasive, target lock, and scan. And our ability is, while there's a scan token beside your ship, you cannot be targeted by any elite talent upgrades, and you roll +1 defense die against any attacks made with weapon upgrades. Kind of situational, be interesting in like a themed arrow type match. The ship itself isn't all that great. It's got a really weak slot loadout, no shields, and it doesn't have a cloak ability. I only really ever see it getting used in a theme or a timeline type scenario. There's a cheap cost, but I don't know, just seems like there's better options out there. Things like the RIS bow and the Apnex. We have our generic. Stats don't change at all. You lose a crew upgrade and you lose the scan ability for 14 points. For captains we have Rax. Captain skill of 3, 1 elite talent for 2 points. You may deploy the Romulan bodyguards upgrade to your ship at a cost of -2 SP, even if it exceeds your ship's restrictions. It's kind of nice. He lets you bring crew on the ships that may not have a crew slot, but only a specific one. And it's still going to cost you 3 points. They're a 5-point upgrade, minus is 2. Could be useful in certain situations, or if you really just want to squeeze them on a ship. And we have our generic Romulan captain. Captain skill of 1 for 0 points. Lead talent for this pack is Destabilized Relations. 5 points. When attacking a ship at range 3, if there's another opposing ship within range 1 to 2 of the target ship, the defending ship rolls -2 attack dice against your attack. Kind of a useful one. I can see this getting a lot of use on the Hakuna or the Avatar of Tomed. Not so much on a little ship like this, though it could possibly make the low attack values on a ship like this actually hit. So it may be worth it in the right situation. It's not disabled, it's not a discard, so it's reusable the whole game. The catch is you're shooting at range 3, so they're gaining a defense dice, then they're losing 1 because of this. You know, it's a trade-off there, but at the same time, if you're using it in combination with secondary weapons or things that can only fire at range 3, then they're not getting the extra defense bonus, and you're taking away, so in that respect it may work pretty well. For crew upgrades we have Romulan bodyguards, 5 points. As an action you can discard this card to target a ship at range 1. When attacking that ship with your primary weapon this round, gain +1 attack die and force the defending ship to roll -1 defense dice. No ship can be equipped with more than 1 Romulan bodyguards upgrade. Again, it's another way to lower your opponent's defense as well as boosting your own. This combined with some other stuff can really turn the tides on these smaller ships with low attack value, making your opponents roll less defense so you have a better chance of hitting as well as adding to your own dice. There's several upgrades the Romulans have that do very similar things. Not sure about a 5-point discard that also requires an action for that effect. And it's limited to range 1. Seems a little overcosted for what it can actually do, at least in my opinion. Next we have Najil. I'm sure I said that wrong, but whatever. 5 points. He adds a tech upgrade to your upgrade bar. That upgrade costs 1 SP less to a minimum of 1. Then must be a Romulan upgrade. As an action, when defending this round during the roll defense dice step, disable this card and one of your tech upgrades to roll +1 defense die. Nice way to boost up defense. You get that extra tech slot added the discount. You have to disable the tech upgrade as well as him. You have to disable a tech upgrade as well as him to get that bonus die. Could be useful in the right situation. Not sure how much overall. Technically, you're only paying 4 points for him because you're getting the extra tech upgrade at a lower cost. But yeah, it's kind of hit or miss on him. There's definite uses for him, but at the same time, again, he's a little overcosted for what he does, I think. For weapon upgrades, we have Disruptor Banks. 4 points. Attack value of 3, range 1 to 3. As an attack, place 3 time tokens on this card to perform the attack from your forward firing arc, or when defending during the roll attack dice step, you may discard this card to force your opponent to roll -2 attack dice. No ship can be equipped with more than 1 Disruptor Banks upgrade. Kind of an interesting one. It's the first one I think I've seen that can be used as an offensive or defensive weapon. A 3-die attack in your forward arc with the 3 time tokens seems kind of weak. Not so bad on a ship that only has 1 or 2 attack, but I think there's other better upgrades out there as far as that respect. The discard to use it to force an opponent to roll 2 less dice, I see it getting more use for that. But again, it's a little overcosted for just that. If you have one of the smaller ships, maybe down the RIS bow, where you've only got that 1 attack die, it may be worth it to get that 3 attack and then still have the option to discard it later to also get the defense. Definitely usable in the right ship in the right situation, but as far as the actual weapon itself goes, I think there's better options out there for the points if you're only planning on using it for the offense. For tech upgrades, we have Prototype Cloaking Device, 4 points. As an action, disable this card to perform the cloak action as a free action, even if you have no active shields. Roll 1 attack die. On a battle station result, your hull sustains 1 damage. When your ship is cloaked, you may also perform a sensor echo action. This upgrade costs +5 points for any non-Romulan ship, and no ship can be equipped with more than 1 prototype cloaking device. Basically gives the ship you put this on the same ability as the Praetus had, I believe. I think that was the one. That lets you cloak a chance of hurting yourself even if you don't have shields. Can be useful on these smaller ships, especially this variant of the Romulan bird of prey that doesn't have any shields, because it gives you that cloaking option on a ship that doesn't have shields. Can also be used on some of the bigger ships if you wanted to take the risk in case your shield gets knocked out. You still have cloaking as an option, which is kind of an interesting little twist. Can see that being used in larger scenario games, especially on like the Scimitar, to give it the ability to cloak even after its shields are knocked out. I think there was another upgrade to let it do that now that I'm thinking about it, but still kind of an interesting one. Useful on the smaller ships, but at the same time at the cost, you're bumping them up to the cost of a higher costed ship anyway. So I'm not entirely sure how useful overall it's going to be, but it is nice to have as an option. So for the rest of our expansion, we have our captain tokens. We have a reminder token for the Riemann bodyguards, a reminder token for Najil, a scan and cloak token, disable token, 3 time tokens, and an additional rules card for time tokens. Oddly enough, we're to the point they're not giving us the target locks anymore, which the ship does have the target lock ability. We haven't gotten them in the last wave or two, as well as some of the OP ships, so that's not really that surprising. We also didn't get an evasive token with this. Anybody who's been playing any amount of time has a ton of those laying around as well, so it's not a big deal on that. Just kind of funny to see that they put in the scan and the cloak, but none of the other tokens. The mission for this one is Escape the Minefield. I believe it's from the same episode of Enterprise that the other Romulan bird of prey ship came from, with the cloaked mines. This one's about a Federation ship that gets stuck in a minefield 2 Romulan ships attack it. The Romulans get 50 points with 2 ships. At least one of the ships must be a Romulan bird of prey. No ship can have a greater hull than 3. And the Federation gets 35 squadron points of 1 and only 1 Federation ship. Nobody can use a upgrade that removes a ship from play. And then explains the setup. Again, we're getting these ones that use the starter sept tokens instead of actually getting tokens with the expansion packs. If you've been playing since the beginning, you'll know when we first started getting them, anything in the scenarios that came with the ships that required you to use some kind of token, the ships used to come with those tokens. And granted, they did add up after a while, but it was really neat to have specific tokens for specific missions and actually have things that represented or even had the icons on them of what they were supposed to be, instead of using generic objection and tokens and things like that. These ones actually use the tiny little mission tokens. Then we have our special rules for the Minefield. And our objectives on the back. The Romulan player is trying to destroy the Federation ship. The Federation ship just needs to get off the table through the southern edge of the map. They can also win by blowing up both of the Romulan ships. Interesting one. Very similar, like I said, to the Praetus mission. I think it's pretty much based on the same episode of the show even. For the model, we've had the ship model before. Now it's in the new shiny colors. I'm not sure, on a lot of the other ones I like the metallic look to them better. Can't say I like it so much on the Romulan ships. I think they looked better in the darker colors that they originally came in. But a lot of detail in the actual model. Not as much as some, like these larger panels, but I think that's the way the original models were anyway. But lots of room for improvement if you're into painting. Not really that much actually colored in though, if you wanted to use them as they were. I do like the color of it. I mean, it's an interesting scheme they chose, just not fitting for Romulans. The darker colors that they used before were much more fitting, I think. And for comparison there, as I said, I kind of like the darker ships better, but at the same time I think the ships from the earlier episodes were actually a lighter color. I think they were more of a grayish beige though than this, whatever color this is, this metallic, but definitely think the darker ships look nicer, at least to me. There you have our base for the named. 90-degree front arc, no rear arc, but it's a pretty maneuverable ship. And the generic, same, 90-degree front, no rear. Overall, it's a pretty average expansion. Nothing spectacular in here. Nothing really stands out. The prototype cloaking device is entertaining, but there's only a couple Romulan ships that don't come with a cloaking device. And the Praetus, the named version at least, has an already built-in way to cloak, which is almost identical to that. So even that's not that great. The only thing that's going to help you on are the generic birds of prey and this named ship. But at the same time, you're bumping the cost up, which really doesn't make it all that effective. You're better off taking one of the other ships that already has it included. Disruptor Banks is interesting. Destabilized Relations has its use. Other than that, it's just a pretty kind of average pack. Not actually one I'm adding to my collection. If there were cloaked mines in here or some other outstanding upgrade like the Praetus had, I might consider picking one up just to add the cards. But there really isn't even any cards in here that are worth buying the entire pack for me anyway. If you're a Romulan player, definitely some extra options in here you'll want to pick up. If you're a collector, you're going to pick it up anyway. But other than that, I think it's pretty safe to avoid this one if you're just looking for good upgrades to put on your other stuff. Anyway, that's it for this video, and we'll see you in the next one.